Welcome to Hello Main Street. I am your host, Monica Sanchez. And here we talk about thought provoking tips, tricks, and ideas for our fellow entrepreneurs just like you. So today we have Miss Laura Flores. She is the owner of Ignite Consulting. And today we will be talking about Human Resources 101. So, Laura, please tell us a little bit about your background so that way our audience can hear more about you.
Yeah, I've been doing human resources for over 20 years. So fun, what people love. But there's a lot of compliance things when it comes to that in organizations and small businesses. So, what I do is help with HR consulting. So, when
Mhm.
businesses don't have that information, it's not their expertise. People come into business because they have an awesome and amazing set of services that they provide or products. They don't want to worry about these compliant type things. And that's where Ignite Consulting comes in. Help with HR type consulting, training and development. A lot of times people need leadership, communication, emotional intelligence type training, sometimes sexual harassment, employee rights trainings. And then I also work a lot of with management and coaching them. So sometimes
Mm.
they're like, I have to have this hard conversation, or I think I have to let one of my employees go. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. And so I kind of coach them, walk them through what they want to do, and then just really help
Yeah.
them thrive in their business and feel more confident about knowing some things that maybe they don't know, and just helping them out that way. So that's what I've been doing for
Yeah.
this past year or so in my business.
Yes, and I love that. And I know that you've been doing that quite for a long time through the corporate world, and then you decided you would spin off and do your own, and you've been quite busy. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to be talking with you today about Human Resources 101 is what we decided we were going to call this session here. And so I think these will be some great tips that will help our fellow entrepreneurs. So one of the questions that I have for you was, will there be any changes in the coming year of 2024 for human resources?
Yeah, there are a few I'll just kind of bring to light. There's always something that's starting the beginning of the year. There's some new rules, new laws, new requirements that we have to abide by as businesses. And the two that really stuck out that were pretty obvious were minimum wage. So that's been
Oh,
increasing in the past several years. So this year, in 2023, the minimum wage was 15.74. So come
wow.
January 1st, if you have any employees in the state of Washington, the minimum wage is going up to 1628. So businesses should probably get ready, start working on their
Yeah.
budget if they haven't already, to know that they have to pay their employees a little bit of a different rate this year.
Okay.
Um,
And so if anybody's like behind on that process, I mean, what does that look like? Because if like myself, like I just learned that. And if I had an employee and I'm like, I only have 2 weeks until the new year starts, where do they start?
yeah, the first thing you want to do is, if you have a bookkeeper, if you're doing it on your own, is change that rate of pay so that they're getting paid appropriately. If for some reason you missed the boat and it's like, oh man, we're in 2024, that's fine. As soon as you know, make the change and then
Okay.
retro it back to the first of the year to make sure that they're getting paid appropriately. Sometimes when people miss it, they do have to retro pay that up to the January 1st. So as soon as you
Okay.
know, go ahead and take care of
Okay.
it. So if you just are watching this now and you're like, oh, I haven't done that, go make that change in whatever system you do or however you calculate it to make sure that you're in compliance. Because the last thing you want to do is shortchange an employee and then break the law.
Right, exactly. See, that would be like one of my biggest fears. Like, oh my God, I didn't know that this was happening, so and now I'm in a panic, right? So
Yes.
again, if you have employees, then make sure their rate changes to 15. How much is it? 15 what?
It, it was 1574 and now it will be 1628.
Oh, wow, 1628.
Mhm.
Okay. 1628. I think Washington is like one of the ones that pay the most for minimum wage out of all of the states. Am I correct on that, or do you know?
Yes, it's usually with all the states, and you're looking at federal laws and state laws.
Okay.
Washington state is very employee pro. So is
Mm.
the state of California. So whenever there's minimum wage or anything that's related to employees, we definitely take care of our employees in that way.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. So, as a solopreneur, you start to get busy, right? Like yourself, you get a year in, you get 2 years in, and you're like, okay, I have so much on my plate. I think I might have to hire an employee. When would somebody kind of have an understanding if that is the case for them?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because I'm right at the cusp of like, do I need an employee or do I
Mhm.
just hire like consultants or
Okay.
contractors to do some of this
Mhm.
work? And the
Mhm.
laws are different how you treat each person who's doing services for you. So, for example, if you're ready and you're like, this bookkeeping thing, this minimum wage stuff, it is not my forte. I need to hire someone to do this for me. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can
Okay.
hire out and hire a consultant, hire a contractor that does their business, and you charge by a monthly fee by how many employees you have, but they are not your employee. They contract the fee, you put an agreement together, and they provide these services to you. Usually you need a
Okay.
W-9 for this, and they are a person that provides this service to you as a contractor. So you're good there. Now, if you decide like, oh my gosh, I need an assistant. I need someone that's going to, do my social media and do my contracts and file all my documents and do my calendar. And I want them to work with me on a regular basis and you want them as your employee. Now
Mhm.
that looks different. Now they are under your purview. So you need to pay them that minimum wage rate, make sure that the payroll taxes are done properly, and that when you bring someone in, you have all your items set out. What's their job description? What are the expectations of their role? How are you paying them? Monthly, weekly, bi-monthly? All those need to be put in place. And that's more of a W-4 employee where you're paying their payroll taxes and they're getting taxes out that way. So there's a couple
Okay.
options that you have, whatever works for you. But those are the two things you consider. Do I want to hire an employee and now they are an employee of Ignite Consulting? Or do I hire a contractor? They're their own business and they provide that service through an agreement. So a couple
Okay.
options that you have there.
Yeah, and I like that because maybe if you do hire the person as a consultant, it would it be easier for a business owner, or is there? I know you went through the differences, but would there be a benefit of one versus the other?
Yeah, they both have pros and cons. So if for me, I really like the contractor type style because I may not be ready to have an employee have a full-time workload and be able to pay them at that much, especially as a solopreneur. So then you bring in someone that you contract out and you hire with a contract and agreement that says, hey, I need someone to do my social media. It's about 5 hours a week. Here's the parameters. You make an agreement and then you pay that way. And you really don't worry too much about that. Same thing if you hire a bookkeeper, if you hire like an attorney to kind of review your contracts, all of that. So there's some pros to having that because you can do it by project. You can do it by an hourly rate. The pro for having an employee is they're constantly with you. So on a day-to-day basis, you're communicating. Here's the things that we need to do. Maybe you can do a few more hours this week if they want more hours or less in it. And you have that flexibility because they work under you. They represent you. They have a
Okay.
job description and the expectations for working that too. You do have some tax liability because they are your employee. So
Mm.
there's a con there. It doesn't need to be a con, but if you're looking at tax purposes, it could be for a solopreneur like, oh, I got to pay these payroll taxes. So
Yeah.
that sometimes gets scary for someone that has their own business and they work for themselves. So
Okay.
right now, I lean towards contractors. There's some really cool service providers out there that do websites, social media, bookkeeping, all the kinds of things that you need, project based or hourly based, and you can kind of pick and choose with your budget. When you have an employee, you can have this one person based on their skill set do these things for you, but they now are your responsibility as an employer to take care of all the things that you need to take care of. Do you pay them
Yeah.
overtime? Is there sick leave? You work around their schedule, so there's a little bit more responsibility with your company for that. So both are good, but as a solopreneur and you're barely starting out, I definitely would look at contractors first
Mm.
before you
Yeah.
get to the point you're like, okay, now I need a full timer.
Yeah, and I think you do. That is very good point, and thank you so much for that clarification. Because there's even like virtual assistants that are out there, right? Because if you need that admin work, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and hire directly an employee to get those tasks done and to be able to keep on track, but then also to be able to grow with your business as well.
Exactly, just like those, digital assistants. That's the perfect example where, like, I need some assistance, but I don't need it full time, and I just need to give them
Right.
work, and then I pay them for the service. It's a perfect opportunity to do that. It's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. And so, what is one takeaway that you want people to know? Because it seems like HR can be kind of a sticky situation because you're like, oh, I didn't know what I needed to know. Do you give us one tidbit that you see that happens and it's like, ooh, I wish that I would have talked to you before you had made that decision.
Yeah, I think it's just a general awareness of things. When you're a solopreneur, I have an HR background, so I know a lot of these things as I start prepping for hiring an employee and all these things, but sometimes people don't. So the first thing I would say is just set up a meeting, a free consult, a 1 hour meeting with someone who's a more of an HR professional. Tell them your
Mhm.
business, what you do, and say, what do I need to have in place? And have someone tell you, like, do you have this? Do you have that? I worked with a couple of clients who, okay, I'm ready for my first employee. I'm like, great. What does the job description look like? I don't know. I was just going to tell them when they get here. I mean, that's a plan. But if you have an employee coming in and it is not very clear what they're supposed to be doing on a regular basis because there's no job descriptions, no policies and procedures, no standard operating practices, it gets really hard for that employee. And when they're not on the same page, there's
Yeah.
conflict, there's issues, people maybe not meeting expectations, but because they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So a lot of times when you're starting to hire your first few employees, it's not clear. And then that's when they call me and like, this isn't working, Laura. I can't get these people to, do I need to fire them? Like, oh, well, what does their job description say? I don't have one. Oh, okay. Well, let's start with that. So I would say when you start to hire, talk
Yeah.
to someone who's going to give you the lowdown on here's the basic that you need to have and here's what you want to have your company do to get ready for them so they can succeed, because when they succeed your business does.
Yes.
If you get that all ready from the get-go, I think that's really important. But a lot of times we don't, as solopreneurs, we don't know that until, oh my God, Laura, what happened? I'm having problems. So yeah, meet with a professional, get the lowdown, get the basics, get it all squared away at the beginning, and it's a lot easier than cleaning up after fires after the fact.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you had mentioned one other rule that was going to be happening, and you talked about mileage. I mean, because a lot of us solopreneurs, I just found out too. So go ahead and tell us what is the new rule for the mileage?
Yeah, if you have employees and you send them in their own vehicle to run some errands that are work related, go drop this off, go send this to the mail, go pick up the FedEx, whatever the case is, and they're using their own vehicle, they get paid mileage. And the mileage rate this year in 2023 was 0.655, so 65 and a half cents. So starting 2024, it's going to be 67 cents. So if you are paying mileage to employees, it's a new rate coming this year. So be aware of that so that they're not shortchanging an employee. If they get wind of that, they're like, hey, where's that extra couple cents? Because
Yes.
after, driving long distances, it could add up.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
And if you like this show, please like, subscribe, connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to chat with you. If you have any further questions for Miss Laura Flores, her information is listed right down below as well. And I put it in there throughout our time that we are talking. And I know Miss Laura, coming in the new year, we're going to have some more details about human resources. So then that way we can keep you, our fellow entrepreneur, out of hot water.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.